Well, welcome to Engine 101. I've got an old Leyland 2.52 diesel. It's 50 years old, maybe older, and I'm having engine oil or high pressure in the engine oil, which is causing me some grief because I'm in Vanuatu and I need to leave here in a couple of weeks. So trying to work out how to fix it. I've gone in and looked at the sensors. It still could be a sensor problem, but I can't get one, so it looks okay. I think it's the engine oil relief valve which is not doing its job, and that could be because it's blocked or there's a blockage in the engine. So I've looked at everything else. I've been running this thing and I'm at the point now where I'm going to do an engine clean. So I don't have a lot of mechanical help, but I spoke on the phone to a chap up here who said dump the oil, fill it full of diesel, turn it over without fuel attached, so the engine's just turning over and you're pushing diesel through the oil channels and you're cleaning it, we're using it as a detergent essentially to clean everything out. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm just MacGyvering the fuck out of things because everything seems to be breaking today. So I've just fixed my oil pump, which was playing up, but the switch had died. So just had to go and bypass the switch because I thought I'd seize the oil pump. And then I found my other manual oil pump, which I normally use to pump engine oil out of the engine. It's not pumping because this little rubber seal, which fits in here, has seized. Well, no, it hasn't seized. It's deteriorated. It's gone hard. So I'm soaking that in hot water at the moment to make it soft, and then I'm going to give it a soft and delicious massage with some rubber grease, clay-based. Should be lovely, and that might soften up the rubber because again I can't get one of those suckers up here. I might be able to find a whole new pump, but not sure where to start. But I'm probably going to go the the electric oil pump to get the engine oil out, and then I'm going to pump diesel into it. So yeah, it's just one thing after another, and I was looking at my backup electric fuel pump, which I carry a spare of, and yeah, I've got a few things, but I don't really want to clog it up full of engine oil, which I think it'd probably work fine with engine oil. But yeah, if there's a lot of impurities in the engine oil, I don't want to fill it full of engine oil when it's my emergency fuel pump. So I've got a manual one in the engine, but I've got this as a backup in case the manual one shits itself. I can just pump it, or pump fuel straight into the engine through the manual as a backup. So there's backups of backups of backups. That's the life on a boat, is working out what is going to die and then try and preempt it and make shit work. So I think the next thing is get the oil out of the engine, and then I can get some diesel in, and I'm going to run I'm going to disconnect the injector lines from the fuel from the injectors, so the engine can't turn over, because I don't think it would be good to having the engine turning over with just diesel. That would probably make it explode or do something other nasty thing. So yeah, we'll crank those off, we'll get the diesel in, we'll just turn it over for a period of time until that lubricates the shit out of everything, and then I'll pump that out and I'll change the oil filter. So I'm hoping the oil filter will pick up all the impurities as it's pumping around. Put a new oil filter on, and then I'm going to put some new oil in the engine. I've got some just 1540, just standard diesel oil, and I'm going to run some CRC fast motor flush, which is about the only thing I could find as a engine oil flush. So I think combination of the diesel and then that and the thinner oil, because I've been running 2050 because it's an old engine, and you didn't seem to like it, like it was running beautifully with that engine oil. And it's hot as fuck up here, so it's not like I'm in the cold weather. So it's quite thin up here. But yeah, maybe it doesn't like it, maybe it's too thick, or maybe it's just got some shit in the engine, or maybe the engine's fucked. Who can tell? There's a lot of maybes at the moment, and it's not even beer o'clock yet. I wish it was, although I'd never get any work done, because it's one of those days you just don't want these days. But regardless, this engine has to get me another couple of thousand nautical miles, or maybe another 10,000 nautical miles. Would be lovely. But yeah, I'm lucky mechanics up here, and I certainly can't get it rebuilt up here. So I need to nurse it gently and try and clean it out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to MacGyver the fuck out of everything else. I'm hopefully not going to fuck it in the process. I'll get some clean oil in, new filters, probably do two filter changes, I think. Try and get all the shit out of the engine, if there is. Hopefully that will ease up the relief valve, which doesn't, I don't think the relief valve is sticking. So I'm hoping the diesel will be thin enough to, help that move. But we will see. Life is like a box of chocolates. So at the moment I'm pumping the oil out of the engine using an oil pump. And I'm trying to I've ran the engine, got it all hot, and yeah, we'll get as much of the old engine oil out. This engine oil's only done 50 hours. We normally get a change at 200 hours, but I'm going to try and run, we'll get rid of all the old engine oil. Alright, so now we're at the point we've got the old engine oil out. I'm going to fill the diesel the diesel engine with diesel, and fill up all the engine and use that as a detergent to try and move any impurities and loosen things up, open up the oil passes. We will see how it goes. Well, here we go, filling up the engine with diesel. What could possibly go wrong? All the things I thought I'd be putting into my diesel engine, and it's not diesel. Okay, so I've got diesel in the actual engine as a lubricant, as I'm trying to get all the oil and scum out of the engine. I need to run it through the engine and circulate it. So the easiest way to do that is to not have the engine run. The easiest way to do that is disconnect the fuel, and it should start. There's no pressure. There's no combustion. I'm sure it will initially combust. I probably should have done that before, but we will see. Alright, so I need to turn over the engine without it starting. I've released the fuel injector line, so there's no fuel coming in. I'm going to pull the fuel cutoff, which is on the injector pump. That should stop the any residual coming through. It's going to turn the engine over, and we'll see how we go. It should be starting to loosen some things up. Not sure if it's going to work, but the next step will be to drain all that diesel into a container. Diesel and oil and scum and whatever else is in there. Change the oil filter to a brand new clean oil filter. And then I'm going to run some What do we find? We find some Shell Helix 15W40, which is all I can get at the moment, in there with a engine flush and whatever residual diesel's in there. I'm going to run the engine up on that for half an hour or so. Then I'm going to dump that, and I'll probably put some more clean oil in. Well, we've been pumping the diesel through the engine, circulating it, and I just went off to the service station to purchase a vessel to get rid of the diesel and oil combo, because I didn't have enough containers and buckets weren't going to cut it. I needed to store it, find a use for it somewhere. So yeah, now I'm going to pump it out. It's been in the engine half an hour. I've circulated. I mean, there's only so much you can do pushing the shit around, I guess. Pretty dirty. Just let that go for a bit more. I don't want any diesel in the oil. You can see it's steaming there, so it's still pretty warm. Yeah, we're getting there. Then we're going to fill the engine with oil after we do the new filter, retighten the injector lines, and then we have to get the engine going again. It's just a treat here. Everything. That in there before I spilt 10 litres of diesel oil all through the bilge, which would be absolute treat and likely to happen while things are going today. Alright, next job. Alright, so I'm going to get this filter off. It's a little bit greasy, so I need to dry it. There's not really enough room in there for a tool, so I normally get it off with my hand. I don't put these things on super hard, and it's only been on there for a few months. So I'm just going to get in there and try and move it. There we go. Yeah, I normally just put them on with a bit of fresh oil on the seal, and then I yeah. A bit of oil leaking there. Gonna be a bit of clean up job later. Through that. That's not oil, that is definitely diesel. I would love to cut it open and have a look what's inside, but yeah, you can see, like, it's not oil, that is diesel, and there's a fair bit of grit there, so I'm hoping it's sort of cleaned out the engine somewhat. Only time will tell. Time will tell. Alright, I've got dirty engine parts fucking everywhere. So that's the recess there. some. Definitely accessible on this boat when you pull all the engine panels off. You know, this engine's super accessible. There's a bit of oil leak down, so it's a job for later. All right, bit of fresh engine oil. I normally use something a bit thicker than 1540. It's an old engine. Starting to question whether that's one of my problems. Alright, just coat the seal, nice lowering, bit of fresh oil in there, we just slot it in. I normally write on the top of these the date, so I know exactly what date, and like when I did the last oil change, I did both primary and secondary filters on the fuel. Primary filter was surprisingly disgusting, had a lot of grubby shit in there, so I'm not going to leave that as long next time. I'm going to do that every 12 months. I had been leaving it for a couple of years, but I think the time up here in the Pacific is yeah, just picking up a lot more shit in the fuel that we're purchasing. So this is the Cooper filter, and it's only going to be on for maybe half an hour, whilst I run the engine up with some detergent, or with a oil cleaner. So yeah, that's that done. Fill up some oil. Okay, so we're going to fill up with some 1540, something I could buy at the service station across the road from the yacht club. This engine takes about 4 litres. Okay, so today, in addition to the diesel flush, we're going to do a CRC fast motor flush. Only thing I could find, and can't hurt. Okay, cap in. I have one more job before I start the engine. I have to tighten these, but before I get to that, I'm going to have to check the impeller. It's the impeller, well, it's been overheating, and I don't think high engine oil pressure should affect temperature. Well, mate, I'm not a mechanic, so I have no idea, but I'm going to check the impeller. So my impeller access is right there, so it's pretty damn easy. It's not a big job. So we're going to whip that off, have a look, make sure all the fins are on the impeller, and if that's good, there's no reason why. Well, I don't think so, because I had the manifold off and repaired a few months ago, and I flushed it, so that should be okay. Coolant levels are okay, check those. The only thing I check the intake to make sure it's fully open, and it appears fully open. Check that again when we're running the engine. Only thing I can put it to is the impeller, and sometimes impellers will, you know, deteriorate, but it's a brand new impeller, good quality. Because there are some cheap Chinese knockoffs which I have managed to buy in the past, which caused no end of grief, losing fins and so forth. But I only buy good ones now, and they cost like $100 each. So yeah, impeller time. Okay, so this is my impeller. Just going to get the access hatch off, and check what is going on. There's no reason I can see, unless I've sucked something up in the system. Alright. I'm going to pull it out a little bit, have a check, make sure. So I'm going to get a couple of flat tip screwdrivers from each side, and I just try and lever it out. Without damaging it, because I want to reuse it, of course. Alright. Yep, this one's Mickey Mouse. Should be, it's brand new. Brand new. Expensive. But, you know, you pay for what you get. In the past I've purchased cheaper ones, and they appear to be a rip-off from China, and they lasted about 2 weeks. So now I only buy the best quality impellers from reputable boating shops with a reputable brand, because these things keep you alive, keep your boat moving. There's nothing in there that I can see. Alright, we're just going to do a we're going to go back through this way. We're going to push water back to the intake. We're going to blow water down through the intake. We're going to see water coming up through here. I mean, it hasn't passed the impeller, it hasn't ruined the impeller. Theoretically it should be okay. Alright, I'm just checking the intake. There's a bit of crap in the intake. Not too much though. Fish. Little suckers. We'll give that a rinse, but I'm going to blow some water down through there. I'm also going to blow some water through here and just see how it goes. Okay, so it's clear exiting the boat, it's clear up through to the impeller. It's pretty, we can just take that a bit further the other way, and then I'll give that screen a clean. Alright, so I've just put the impeller back in. I think the system is clean. Yeah, not sure why it's overheating. It could be something to do with the pressure building up. But yeah, what I do is I put a bit of Vaseline on the impeller, and then I just push it in and turn at the same time, and it tends to go in pretty easily. And now I'm just going to go and get some gasket cement, put the cover back on, and hopefully that'll be all good. Alright, I'm going to go use some Loctite gasket sealant. The gasket still looks a pretty good nick. Just going to recoat it and then refit it. think it's about time for a cup of tea while that cures. Think about what I need to do, make sure that I've done everything I need to do properly, and then yeah, we'll run the engine for half an hour at idle, hopefully clean all the bullshit out, do another oil change, do another filter change, and then we'll go to clean oil, and hopefully that solves our problems. Otherwise, I start again. Okay, so where are we at? We're in engine fixing on Tintin. So I've had high oil pressure, and I've gone through a range of measures to try and fix that. So I've run the engine hot. I've dumped all the engine oil in case there was sludge or anything in the engine oil. I've then filled the engine with 8 litres of diesel, which is a detergent, and I've cycled the engine I cracked the injector line so they couldn't crank over. I hit the kill switch on the engine and I kept cranking the engine over off and on for 20 minutes, and then I left the engine sit there and soak in diesel for half an hour while I went and got another container to empty that 8 or 9 litres of diesely oil out. And on top of that, the engine was starting to overheat, and I can't quite work out why. So I went and pulled the impeller out, checked the impeller, blew water and air through the lines to make sure there's no debris, cleaned out the basket, the first catch basket from the intake, blew air through the intake to make sure there's nothing in there. Sometimes you get fish and crap in there, which could have been the case. It was a little bit hard initially. And also weed, I guess. So put the impeller back in, sealed it back up, tightened it. I've put oil back in the engine. I put in 1540, and I put a oil flush additive in there. So I'm going to run this oil flush additive with brand new engine oil and a brand new filter for about half an hour and try and loosen up everything in the engine. Hopefully not too much. I've got a sticking, I believe I've got a sticking oil relief valve, and that, hoping that's going to loosen that up, because the engine will idle okay, and then once it I start giving it revs, it goes into red line on the oil pressure valve, which I don't think is good. The engine doesn't seem to change tone or anything else, but I can only imagine it's putting pressure on the engine somewhere that I don't know. And it's an old engine, it's 50 years old. So I have been using a heavier oil because it's getting a bit, bit loose and knocky. So, I use 2050, which helps to, so it's not so smoky, and it's more gentle on startup, and I've been pretty happy with that. But I'm hoping I haven't caused another problem. But who can tell? This engine has at least 10,000 hours on it, but it's a bloody great engine. It's an old Leyland BMC diesel, 2.52, starts easily, runs like a dream, doesn't use a lot of fuel, doesn't even use a lot of oil. I mean, 1,000 nautical miles, I might use half a litre, which I think is pretty good for a 50-year-old engine. Suck that up, you environmentally friendly eco warriors, because that's a 50-year-old engine. And how many engines have I saved? How many carbon credits must have I put on this boat? Yes, thank you. But anyway, I've still got to start the engine, and whilst I'm cranking it over, I have to reseat the injector the injector lines, so the engine will start, because it won't start at the moment because it's got air in the injectors. So that's the next thing, and we'll go through that once I finish my cup of tea. Alright, so I'm just going to go and bleed the engine again. I've got a manual primer pump down here. I've got my tank intake primary filter, which is water separation, down to my primary pump, and I'm just going to So got fuel up to there. Pretty sure the injector pump is still putting each one of these lines, so this is bleeding the system through. It's getting fuel through up to the injectors, so I want to be able to see that, and then I crank it on. And I've checked everything else. I've checked the oil levels, got the new filter on, the impeller's tight, checked the fluids, so let's go. So far so good. And this has been my problem. It's been redlining. I still think it's running too hot at the moment. I think it should be around 20 psi. But once the engine gets up to 80, it's at its operating temperature. So we're just going to see how it goes. I'm just going to idle it, let it run for, let it run for 5 minutes or so. We'll see how we go. It's pissing a heap of smoke and shit out the back, which is not ideal. Water pressure seems better, so maybe I did have a little block in there somewhere. Smoke could just be all the shit that I've got running through it, like the cleaner, and yeah, like I've got a thinner oil in there at the moment as well. I've been running a much thicker oil. Anyway, well, it's cheap.